Hi there, this is Christopher with Shining3D, here to bring you information on the latest update to the Aoralscan software. Today we will be taking a look at the quality of life changes, new features, and additional design modules being added in the 3.3.2.3 version of Aoralscan for use with the AOS 3 and AOS 3 wireless scanners. First, here are some quality of life changes to the software. A PC performance test has been added to the Scan Settings menu to adjust the scanner's frame rate based on the performance of the computer. This should improve scanner performance on all PCs that meet the minimum requirements for software use. The Refine Scan Area tool has now been automated when Refine Scan is enabled in the Scan settings. After scanning an arch, the Refine Scan Area select will automatically detect preps and select working areas for refinement during data processing. The ability to view software shortcuts has also been added to the Settings menu, letting you see keyboard and mouse controls for the software. This menu will also let you disable the tutorial messages that appear on the left side of the screen. Data cleaning options have been added to the Order Settings menu, allowing for the automatic clearing out of project files after a set amount of time and cases. You can also use the Clear option to remove all project files from the dental order folder before an indicated date. Next, we have some exciting new features being added to this version of the software. Scan body matching is being added into the implant scanning workflow. During the scanning phase, you can select from the scan body library the brand being used, and the software will automatically align the digital scan body. This will lead to more accurate positioning of the scan body during the design phase. A sectional view option has been added to the bite detection menu of the pre-design phase. This adds a plane that can be moved and rotated to allow precise measurements of the upper and lower jaw spacing, while showing a 2D image of the bisected area. Edentulous scanning mode is an option that can be toggled on and off when intraoral mode is enabled. This optimizes the software scanning soft tissue, helpful for full palate scanning and the scanning of edentulous patients. The Oral Health Report feature, now called Console Report, has received an update as well. The bite can be opened up to show the occlusal surface of both arches, and a graffiti mode has been added to allow marking on the scans with the mouse inputs. Using the data screenshot, or endoscope mode, you can gather photos of the patient's teeth using the scanner as an intraoral camera and select from a list of potential symptoms. There is a one-click fill option to allow the software's AI to add descriptions and recommended courses of action to the report for each photo and screenshot taken. Selecting Assist Mode will have the software's AI identify areas of interest on the scan data and recommend potential symptoms. After selecting which symptoms are relevant, you can choose Apply and add the symptoms to the report. "3D labels can be toggled on and off to show points of interest on the report. Once you are finished gathering data, select Report Preview to take a look at the completed oral health report. From here, you can share the report with the patient, which will generate a QR code for them to scan with their cell phone. You can also export the report as a PDF. Here is what the mobile version of the health report looks like. Lastly, we have some new modules and changes to existing modules being added to the pre-design phase of the scanning software. The modules available in this new version of the software include Metron Track, Cree Temp, Cree IBT, Console OS, and Cree Splint. I will walk you through these modules and their key features. The first module we'll look at is Metron Track. This is our data comparison module. In this module, you can select data for a patient if they've had multiple scans done. The first phase will be the tooth segmentation, where the software will automatically detect which tooth is which number for both sets of scan data. On the screen, you can assign the tooth number to each tooth. If there's any teeth data missing, you can always use the Add Teeth option or remove teeth that you don't want to look at the comparisons for. As well, you can modify the area for each tooth. Using the brush tool or the erase tool. You can also change the number of each tooth if they're labeled incorrectly. Next is the measurement analysis function. On the screen, you can select between the dental crowding measurement and the bolt-on ratio measurement, which will show you a set of data points for each jaw. And you can toggle between the two scans on the top. You're also able to import more than 2 scans for each patient, and you would see them at the top as well. There's an option to view, and you can change the views in the top center of the screen. And use the model comparison function to have the data aligned so you can compare the change over time. In the model alignment menu, you can use the auto align to align the 2 sets of data automatically in the software. Or you can manually align them using 3 points on the upper, the lower, or a set from both. You can set the mode to comparison of teeth to get a good look at the changes of the teeth over time. Here you will see the overlaid models from each scan. And you can take a sectional view to see the differences on a 2D plane. There's also the option for a color map. There's also the report function if you want to export this data, the measurements and the Bolton measurements as well. And that can be saved as a PDF. Next up is CreTemp, our temporary crown design module. These steps. On the main screen, you will select the teeth that you have preps for. Double-click on the selected tooth to mark the margin line. You can adjust the margin line using these dots and the line. And for the most part, the automatic margin line is pretty good. Once you're satisfied with the margin line, you can click the next step, which is the insertion direction. The software automatically creates an insertion direction that has the least amount of undercut, but you can manually adjust the insertion direction by clicking on the arrow. Clicking next will cause the software to generate a proposal tooth. This proposal can be edited before design. Double-clicking on the crown will bring up the editing tools, where you can scale and translate the crown. Once you're satisfied with the dimensions of the crown, you can move on to the design phase. In the design phase, you can see a color map for the content, as well as adjustments for the parameters. For sculpting tools, we have the extrusion, intrusion, and smoothing. You can also increase the radius of the brush and the strength of the tools as well. And in the Parameters Adjust menu, we have the inner wall reserve gap, as well as the inner wall edge width. You can toggle on the texture of the model or the scan. As well, you can view the margin line. There's also a sectional view tool in order to get a 2D image of the tooth contacts. Once you're satisfied with the crown, you can send it straight to the printer via AccuWare, our slicing software. Next up is Cree-IBT, our indirect bonding tray module. The first step will be doing the tooth segmentation. Again, on this step, you can add or remove teeth, change tooth numbers, or modify the tooth area. In the next step, you will adjust where the coordinates for each bracket will be. And if you click on one of these coordinate points, you can move it around or rotate it using the left mouse click. There are tooltips in the upper right corner to show you what you need to do in each step. You can also see some measurements for the tooth in the upper right corner. Next, we have the bracket select. On this menu, you can select the bracket brand, as well as the bracket model, and choose to automatically add them to the surface of the model, or you can manually add them yourself. Once you hit confirm, they will generate, and you will see them applied to the scan data. On the screen, you can also modify the bracket selection again, or edit the position of each bracket individually. Next, we will go to the Create Guide menu. Here you can generate guides for the selected brackets. You can click on individual brackets to select them, or you can select from presets on the bottom. Once groups are selected, you can generate the list. And when you confirm, we'll generate the guides for those brackets. You can then send these IBT guides to the printer using the To Print button. Next up, we have Console OS. This is our orthodontics treatment simulation, used to show patients the before and after of ortho treatment. The first step is the coordinate adjust. And the trimming of the data. There's also the option to edit the surface of the data to smooth out any rough areas. Clean and smooth data will help the software's AI create the simulated models much easier. Next, we can go into the tooth segmentation, where the software will detect which tooth is which number, and you can edit these as well. If a tooth is missing from this menu, you can always click the Add Tooth button and the software should automatically detect which tooth is missing. And you can use the remove teeth function to remove teeth such as the wisdom teeth if you don't want to include them in the simulation. In the setup phase, the software will generate 3D models of the patient's mouth and then run the simulation. Here you can see the original data compared to the simulated data. You can view the changes over time. If we select the new plan, we can take a look at the measurements, seeing the movements over time, as well as the Bolton analysis. We can also manually adjust the movements over time using the manual setup, where we have options for move, rotate, roll, and adjust gap, as well as adjust the arch. There's also the option to play the animation of the change of the teeth position over time. And you can set this to a higher speed as well. You can set it to loop as well. In the object control panel, you have some useful tools such as the grid, the adjacent contact measurements, the jaw plane, the frame view, the tooth numbers, the sets of data superimposed so you can see the change in position of teeth over time, as well as the occlusal data. On the plan list menu, if we select upload, we can then share this data with the patient. Selecting upload again will generate a QR code for the patient to scan with their phone and view on their mobile device. This is great for doctor-patient communication. can also export this report as a PDF. Lastly, we have Crease Splint, our night guard and retainer design module. On the Create Project menu, you can select from night guard or retainer. As well, you can change out the upper and lower scan data if you have different scans for the patient. The software will automatically generate a night guard for both the upper and the lower arch, which can be adjusted using the design adjustment tools on the right side of the screen. On the left side of the screen is the model list where you can toggle on the guards and the jaws. On the insertion path menu, we can adjust the insertion path of the splint. To do so, all you need to do is move the camera into the place you want the insertion path to be and click on the arrow. Once satisfied, you can hit confirm on the right side. Then we can move to the margin line selection. Here you can adjust the automatically designed margin line. As well, you can generate a new margin line following either the straight or curved line method. To adjust the line, you can click on a point with the left click and drag it around to move it to position. Or you can click anywhere on the line to add a new point. To remove a point, you can just double click with the right mouse button. And once finished, you can hit the check mark. In the parameter menu, you have options for the undercut filling ratio, the thickness, and the gap. There are useful tooltips that show you an image of what each setting does next to the menu. As well, you can use the sectional view tool to get a 2D plane of the fit of the night guard. Once design is complete, you can send the splints right to the printer via AccuWare. That concludes this update video. Thank you all for watching.
Time we'll be able to take some more of your questions. So if you'd like to type them in the chat, we will do our best to provide answers to those. Hi, Tracy. Yes, a copy of this presentation will be posted onto our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to have constant access to it at that source. So to my knowledge, I don't believe that you can import a BEB file into Exocad. The link with Exocad is more for is really only associated with Shining3D. So I believe the software update should be released next month at some point. So yes, the scanned files, the actual scan itself will always be able to be exported as STL files. The items that can't be exported are the design modules. So like the temp design, as well as like the splint design. Those will only be printable with our printers for the time being. Looks like someone else is typing, so looks like we still have a few more questions coming in. So feel free to ask, continue asking questions. So Ezekiel, when you scan a denture with the intraoral scanner as well. Do you mean to say like an impression? Okay. So yes, you can also scan an impression. It would be the reverse though. So we don't currently have an option to reverse the scan, like to flip it inside out, because when you're scanning an impression, you're scanning a negative. So currently we don't have an option to turn that into like a positive model, but that is something that we will be developing in the future. You're welcome. All right. Any more questions out there? Thanks, Lisa. All right. Looks like that is it as far as the questions go. Looks like those are winding down. So thank you all for joining the webinar today, and we hope to see you all very soon. And let us know, of course, if you guys have any follow-up questions. I'm sure you all know how to reach us and get in touch with us. So thank you all for joining. Hope you all have a great rest of your week and take care.